Hey everybody, hello again. This is a little video on Haelo. So, what is Haelo we'll get to, but where you access it, if you have a license for it, is under the menu Manage Haelo GPT. So, really, I guess the best way to explain Haelo is to sort of say this is your own little walled garden GPT. Now, everyone knows, GPT you can get onto ChatGPT in particular. There's a lot of GPT products out there now. You can open them up and have a chat. You don't know who you're chatting to or what you're chatting about. You might know what you're chatting about. You don't necessarily know exactly what information is going to come back. So you always have to be aware of, you know, what they call hallucination or bias that comes out of the GPT engines. They are indexed with an incredible amount of information, so something can go wrong. And naturally, that's just the way it is. So, how do you sort of circumvent that in an educational way, keeping students very focused on quality content, and that's really culturally impacted as well. The way um, certain pictures and scenarios are presented in different countries and different cultures can impact the learning that the teachers are trying to get across. So the one size fits all LLM is great if you're just sort of having a go, but when you're sort of in the educational environment, you want to tailor it into exactly how students can get the best benefit from really good content that you're in charge of. That's where Haelo comes in. So what we do simply is we let you build out, you create a new one, or well, let's look at one that I've already prepared, um, just on forces. Now, textbooks go down a curriculum. Like the Year 9 textbook is all about Year 9 physics curriculum, for example, physics, yeah? Could be history, could be anything. They typically start at the beginning of the curriculum and they work their way all the way through. But what if in that physics book we were talking about forces and you missed the whole context of forces in year 6, 7, and 8, right? So here you are up in year 9 and 10, you're taking on the new curriculum for that year level, but you missed what was going on at the back. So I think, decomposing content is really a great thing for teachers to help students pick up and sort of get back up to speed in a self-directed way, in a safe and self-directed way. So with forces, we could load the chapters from years 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, all across the line. Physics gets harder the more depth you go into it, but it all starts somewhere. So we can take students back to what is a force and bring them forwards into how a force impacts the buildings of Singapore, for example. We're starting to personalize and self-direct learning at their own pace and speed. So Haelo is all about, very simply setting up a structure. We give it a name. We give it some content. Now, where does content come from? Well, it's a good question. It comes from wherever you want it to come from. So we can put in here web pages. We can put in here wiki pages. Anything that you consider to be the right material for the job you need to get done, this is what you put in. So, site maps. You could get in there a whole structure of a website just simply by putting in a site map address. You can obviously put in YouTube videos. We'll decompress the audio from there and make it available. And you can put in PDF, Word, any document that's sort of like you might have your teacher notes. Teacher notes are really valuable. All sorts of summary notes are really valuable. Get it all together or part of it or any part of it at all and put it into the content source. Now, that's where we do some indexing. We let you come up with some initial messaging. We let you call it whatever you want to call it. Our product is called Haelo. You could call it whatever you want. So working with Marshalls, we call it Chat MCE. But basically you can have conversation starters. You can basically set up how you want the interaction to work, and you can see on the right hand side when you change things, you get instant response. So you can see what you're going to do. Very simple. A lot of teachers are putting pictures of themselves or avatars of themselves there. You can share it across the school, just in your classes, your choice on how the sharing works. And then we cut to the chase and we're into chat. So really this is where students get the benefit and the enjoyment and the excitement of using a GPT engine to ask questions. Now, asking questions is seemingly the easy bit. It's actually the hard bit. The content is all around us. I mean, there's Google, there's GPT, there's so much content around us. Asking a line of thought, creating a line of thought working through that whole line of thought for as far as you can go, and then challenging yourself to go further. That's where it's at. It's the questions. It's not about the content anymore. It's about the questions. So when you sit people in front of this, quite often they'll say, "What do I say?" Well, you've got to start thinking through, the basics of understanding something. And Bloom's taxonomy comes in here. What you really want to get students to is having great thought about the impact of things that they've just found out about. Like, how does it impact? Analyzing questions, higher order thinking questions is where you need to go. But everyone always starts with the basics. So rather than type them in, I mean, what you can do obviously here is you can talk to it. So give me some information about the impact of gravity on humans. So let's just start with some basic stuff. If we've got it in our content source, we're going to give it back to you, and it's chat. It's not anything other than great content coming back from credible sources in a format that's now quite readily accessible by everybody. But you've got the students inside your context, and you've got them engaged in your learning. So, I see all sorts of modalities of this being used in classrooms where the teacher could say, okay, let's everybody get to the Haelo on something. Let's say forces. We haven't conquered this before. We haven't talked about it before, but now we are. So let's start the exploration. You guys find out what a force is, and you find out how it impacts humans, and we'll talk about it. This is where you're handing back the whole experience of learning to students, and they're in a place where they want to be. It's an engaging place. So we record all of this history. We can certainly, I'll show you a bit about where the power comes from in a teacher, but from a modality point of view, like, working with an English teacher recently, she was in a year 9 class where she hoped everybody had read To Kill a Mockingbird. Now, that's a pretty big draw of the bow. I mean, a year 9 boy is reading To Kill a Mockingbird. That's impressive, but she knew they weren't going to read To Kill a Mockingbird. But the curriculum said we have to start exploring the context of To Kill a Mockingbird, the racial impacts, the messaging, all of those things that are in the book. We want to bring them forwards. It's all good stuff, right? But how do you get students engaged in that? So, without knowing who Atticus Finch is, who was Atticus Finch and what was his part in the storyline of To Kill a Mockingbird? Okay, now, obviously, we're now cutting across into To Kill a Mockingbird, and we just bring back a bit of information. What we really want to do is encourage students to take it to the next step. So who was obviously defend Tom Robertson. So what did Tom Robertson do? Okay, I might have said Robertson. It might be Robinson, but it's still there. Okay, there you go. There's a good example of me getting it wrong, and I don't know a Tom Robertson. I need a Tom Robinson. So let me try it again. Who was Tom Robinson, and what did he do? So without reading the book, I've got an insight into the main character, prompted by the teacher. Find out who Atticus Finch is, and then follow your nose. See if you can discover the plot of the book, what happened, how the evidence worked, how did the court case go. Like, it's a process. And if you can get students encouraged on the learning journey, you can get content back to them in the way that they're asking their questions, you're going to engage them, and you're going to get that across. Now, this can be used for anything, any sort of topic, any sort of content source. It's simply a case of students giving access to students and having them move around. So, yes, it will give them mock exam questions. It will, whatever they ask for, if it's in the boundaries of the content that we have, we'll give it back to the students, and we won't take them out of that swim lane. So really, here's the kicker for teachers. I think the best thing. We have a session on forces, okay, and we're trying to really get the Bloom's level of questioning up a notch. Now, we can see there are some students here. Yenny seems to be right up into the applying questions, right? So demonstrate the effects of forces on objects at rest and in motion. Great question, okay? But most of the class are down here saying, what's a force? What's gravity? So really, you can see from here, the level of teaching that you've got to get to is to promote these kind of questions, get through the remembering into the understanding and up into the evaluation questions. Now, the class is not here yet, but that's where I need to get them to move them forwards, okay? we're now in year 10, what we're realizing is we've still got a problem in remembering questions about how does gravity impact. So this is the value of Haelo. Really, I think this is it. It's not about content anymore. I think it really is about having students be able to ask questions at higher levels and orders of thinking about topics they can research instantly in a safe and predictable way. Big mouthful, but chew on that for a while, because that's where I think teaching and learning is. Now, Haelo, once you've got your content sources in here, guess what you can do? You can create Prestos from Haelo sources. So instead of asking Presto to come up with content from a GPT engine, you can ask Presto to create something from a data source called Haelo. So if I was to build here, see, I want to use my forces content. Now create an instant quiz on any topic. If I wanted to generate the text for me and it was about the impact of gravity on humans, okay, it's going to be using the content source that I've set up in Haelo. So now I've not only got an assessment going alongside the content, I have got credible content coming through in the assessment. Gravity. So I hope you're joining those dots with me. So I have created a content source about forces and physics, and I'm now using that content source to create an assessment. So the two are in sync. Now that's a really important thing for teaching curriculum and learning, right? So here we are. Presto has created my little assessment on gravity with topic and content coming from my trusted sources. And here are the questions that are coming from those sources. So we're closing a loop here really, really quickly. So, what we're trying to suggest is that first, you should watch the Presto course before you watch this one. But secondly, what we're doing is converging these multiple points of time, time needed from a teacher. Like, you got to create lesson content. You've got to get students engaged with the content. You have to assess them against the content, and you have to remediate the gaps that are starting to emerge. We just want to bring all that together in a platform where you can move across it in a very seamless way. At all the time being in control of what you're doing, and obviously getting feedback from your students as to where you'll be of most value next. That's the most important thing in all of this. And that's also now a course that can be shared across the school, and so it goes. So closing these loops is really something that it's all about, and bringing all of these modules together, and they all start working together. It's really cool. Now, just imagine I had a Scribo called "The Effects of Gravity on Humans." Let's just type that in. Let's make it an informative one. We want it to be, say, 300 words. We want it to be, say, 3 little paragraphs. We're just going to get students writing about physics now. Okay, so writing obviously needs support. We need prompts. We need scaffolds. We can do all of that. But what you can also do for the students is link them into the physics sources. Okay, so I'm going to show you this just quickly. So over here we've got what we want them to do, and down here what I can do is enable Haelo and link this essay to my Haelo forces. Okay, so now I'm going to log in as a student. I've been given a writing task by my teacher. Now, these are my classes. As a student, I'm across multiple classes. I'm in high school, but in this class here, the effects of gravity on humans is what I have to do now. So I'm in class, I'm writing, I'm learning about the effects of gravity. I've just done a session with Haelo. I've got an idea. I'm now being asked to explain it, put in my own words. Now, our teacher, our lovely teacher, has just given us a scaffold to work with. So here it is. This is the scaffold that I built for the students. I'm now, as a student, inside Scribo, and it's asking me, it's guiding me in how I should answer this question. Now, a clever student will say, I'll use that as a prompt and chat to Haelo about it. Okay, so here we go. I'm off. Now, obviously, what we don't want the students to do is just copy that to my text, which is what I just did. But because we're quite clever, we know what you just got up to. So we can actually track what the question was for each student and what they have copied across. So we get our own little version of plagiarism. Now, you may accept this or not accept this. This is okay. But what we really want you to do is be in the loop. So give students access to great stuff. Let them put it in their own words. We'll track and make sure that they're not stepping out of line with, good direct plagiarism. We'll help you get through there, but they will know that you can see what they did and everyone starts working together on the same page. Okay, so we've got great content supporting the writing, supporting the assessment, supporting the inquiry. It's all starting to work together, and there's nothing that it takes really to make them all work together other than the way you want to run your classroom. That's all you have to focus on, and that's what all of this is all about, is helping you get, I guess, those interactive and engaged moments with students without doing more work and saving a ton of time. So I'm going to leave that Haelo and sort of integration video right here, and I look forward to talking to you again soon. Bye for now.